Well, hello everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. We're back with the debrief. What is going on? For some odd reason, we're not streaming on Twitter, but I will sort that one out. There's over 400 of you live here on YouTube. Yeah, Twitter's a mad one. Basically, for people who see this absolutely wanky tick on my One Leeds thing, it's not because I want to do that. It's because to stream now on Twitter via One Leeds, which you do on this multi-platform thing, you have to have a premium account.
Can we just stop paying into that stupid site?
Oh man, it's
honestly somewhere else.
Gabe, it is a nightmare. He changes it up all the time. So basically, the account is constantly like, you have just disassociated from X, and I'm like, well, why? And it's like, oh, now we've upgraded to.
They have such a revenue problem over there, and they continue to pretend it's not one. It's hilarious to me.
It's a nightmare. But how are we doing, guys? Oscar, how you doing, buddy? All good?
Yeah, all good, mate. Obviously, good week, good weekend, good win, and Oasis are back together, so it's all good, mate. It's all good. We've got the hat trick. We've got the hat trick in, mate. So I'm all good, mate.
We have, mate. Yeah, Oasis back together. We got up this morning at 8 a.m. because Rihanna was convinced this was when tickets were going to go on sale. That didn't happen, so we just got up like incredibly early for no reason. And some of you right. Some of you will say, God, you're right, cynical git today, aren't you? What's going on with you?
It's just milquetoast, isn't it? It's just the most white bread, average mid band that everyone loves because of a certain period in British history where people were proud to be British. Ooh, ridiculous.
Oscar, should we get him off? Should we get him off for that?
Wonderwall.
If Gabe does not come out with Bruce Springsteen propaganda in the next 5 seconds,
I'm not a Bruce Springsteen fan.
Oh my word!
Who do you like? Who do you like? What bands do you like? Come on.
Should I just talk about Britpop bands that I think are better than Oasis? So we can start a list.
Go on then. Give us one.
I would rather hear people singing the Beatles songs over Oasis every single day.
You've got taste there, mate. You've got some taste there, mate.
No, I'm just saying, if we're gonna go with milquetoast brands that come out of Britain, I'd choose the Rolling Stones and the Beatles all day over bloody Oasis, Wonderwall. Stop crying your heart out. What? Just get.
It's a safe option.
I know it's not a popular opinion here, but I just.
It's a safe.
What's your favorite Oasis song? Here, go ahead. What's your favorite Oasis song, guys?
Wonderwall.
Really? He just reminds me of every single college kid with a guitar under a tree at an American university. Just, just give me a break.
I can't believe that. It's absolute slander, Oscar. I can't believe you said that, to be honest with you. But there we go. We're going to have to.
Yeah. What's yours then, Con?
The Shock of the Lightning. That's my favourite one, mate. A bit of an indie one. But yeah, no, I'm a big Oasis fan. And thank the Lord, I think we've managed to sort the X issue out. Oh, no, we haven't.
Britannia nostalgia that I just can't get on board for. But
let's see what the chat are saying. Gabe likes the day to remember Slide Away, the best Oasis song. Yeah, it's Danny Max says, you're not wrong, Gabe. Oasis are whiny. Yeah, I don't think that's why Gabe doesn't like them, but yeah, well, I think it's more just the fact that he's not a fan of the band. But Oasis over Blur, yeah, I'd always go with that. Green Day for Gabe.
No, Green Day is also Australian.
Yes,
Green Day's Australian.
Exactly.
Green Day's not even American; they're Australian.
Oh, it's definitely that. Right, okay, we're in the midst, everyone, of a transfer saga, aren't we? A transfer saga at this moment in time. Leeds are doing X, Y, and Z. We'll go to Gabe first. Gabe, what have you made of the Manor Solomon signing, which has eventually gone through today? Are you happy with that one, mate? And how do you think Leeds are going through with obviously 3 days left to go the window? Are you positive?
I remain as I have been throughout the transfer period. As Oscar said last week, articulately and perfectly, we'll know when it's done, right? And I think that we're linked to a bunch of players. We'll see if any of them pan out. I like the links I've seen, but we'll see what we can actually get done. As we have said repeatedly, sometimes I know we would prefer to get all the business done early. Well, teams don't like to sell early. They like to see how things go. And unfortunately, it's not, let's point out that it's not just us doing a mad dash here at the end. It's all teams in this division are scrambling to get players in right now and to fill out their sides. I'm happy with the window thus far. We still need a couple more signings, I think. I guess it depends on if we have all of this depends on if we have any unexpected outgoings, which it always does. And so there's always a risk in this division in the second season in a row. But, I'm adequately pleased right now. I mean, these are for the championship from a footballing perspective, very solid signings we've made. And I think we've seen with some of the players coming back, like Aronson, he's obviously going to be a key part of the rotation this season. And I think we could do a lot worse. So yeah, I'm reasonably happy. I would like to see a couple get over the line, but for me, again, I'm still in wait and see mode. A lot can happen in 72 hours. So we'll see. Judge them at the end of the window, because it could go tits up in the last 72 hours as well, so we'll see.
Yeah, it does feel like that. It feels like, it feels like even, Willie Gnonto leaving the building, and that could change absolutely everything. I mean, obviously we've seen Solomon come in. We've seen a lot of links when it comes to Roland Sallai as well, Oscar, and many others coming in. And who's the pick of the bunch for you? Gus Hamer in there. Can you see? I mean, the Hamer one's interesting, isn't it? It feels like we were talking about it last night. It feels like that's way, too far away from what Leeds would be able to do in this window. But then you see today, obviously, Sheffield United potentially going in there for Phil Billing.
Yeah, I personally don't think Hamer will happen. I don't really have any kind of vibe that one's going to happen personally. I think the only real way I see Hamer happening is if Sheffield United need to get rid for a financial reason. But I would have thought personally, if that was the case, Hamer would have been gone already. I don't think he'd have been allowed to play the first sort of 3 or 4 games and risk an injury, things like that. But maybe I'm totally off it. But I don't think Hamer will. I personally don't think that will happen. I don't think that's one that's going to come about. But obviously, a very good player, no question about that. But for me, that number 10 role feels like Gnonto's, as long as we keep Gnonto in the building, which I think is absolutely critical. If we do nothing else, Gnonto staying is of absolute crucial importance to me. And people will say, yes, we can replace Gnonto, but you don't want to be going with a totally different forward line. We've already seen Joseph come in, who is effectively, a new player in terms of from what we had last season, because we hardly played any league games. Obviously, Ramazani's going to come in. Solomon's probably going to have to go in there somewhere, whether that'll be on the right or the left. And, if you're looking at Gnonto going out, you're looking at potentially a whole new front four. And I don't really like the idea of that. It feels a bit, it doesn't tend to work very well at this level. When you need to gel a team quickly, you've got such a thick and fast run of games, especially after this next international break. It's a lot of Saturday, Tuesday. So, I think we do need a bit more of a settled team as well. So I think keeping people like Gnonto in the building is extremely important. And I think it's an absolute priority, to be honest. If there's any kind of risk of Gnonto going, obviously there's not really been any mention of that, which does surprise me. But of course,
well, there has, but it's not been really. It's been speculative. There's been people on
big
podcasts and on radio.
Yeah, nothing big kind of thing. No. It's the main talk has been, Gnonto will be a great signing for us. I don't think it's gone anything further than that. But what is worth pointing out is that there was a similar thing with Sinistera last season until late on, sort of a day and a half to go to the end of the window. That's when it first started coming about that Cine could be leaving the club, kind of thing. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think some of the names linked I really like. Tanaka, for one, is someone who I think is a really good profile for us in terms of what we need in midfield.
For the price, too. Just really high value.
Just someone to link the midfield to the attack, really. And I think that's what Tanaka does really well. And he's a great complementary option alongside Gruev or Ampadu for me.
Yep.
I think Ampadu and Gruev, to me, it still doesn't look quite right. It probably looked the best it has done in ages against Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night. But I think the way Wednesday played wasn't a great barometer. I think you still need another number 8 in there. We've only got 3 number 8s in the building at this moment in time, and one of them's on loan. So it would be good to get a 4th option in there. And yeah, there's obviously interesting talk in other positions as well. But I think Tanaka, to me, it might not be the most sexy signing because he's obviously only a midfielder, doesn't really contribute to many goals and assists. But he's someone that, for the system, I think he's quite an important player to bring in. And I think he will bring more out of Ramazani, more out of Gnonto, more out of Solomon and James. But yeah, and Sallai as well is another one who I think would be a very exciting one. Whether he'd be more for the right-hand side or the number 10, I'm not sure. But I think a versatile option who is Premier League quality for me will never go wrong at this level. So Sallai would be one that would really interest me as well. So all in all, I think it's looking a lot better than it did 2 weeks ago. I think the main thing for me is I've never had any issue with the starting 11. It's always been the depth that's been an issue. And I think if you look at the bench against Wednesday, it wasn't great, if we're being honest. Had we ran into trouble in that Wednesday game, there wouldn't have been many options off the bench to change it, really. So it'd just be good to get some depth in, I think, first and foremost. I think, obviously, fullback's another position to look at and think, yeah, Sam Byram, I think, could do a great job at left back and right back as a backup option. But when Sam Byram's quite injury prone as well, and he's having to cover 2 positions, I wouldn't mind getting a 4th fullback in. But I have a feeling we will get a 4th fullback in personally. But we'll see. We'll see.
Sallai would be an outrageous signing, wouldn't it? I mean, I'd be over the moon with that signing. And I sort of hope the bid we put in. I know we were talking about this in our private chat, guys, but I kind of hope the bid we put in was just to unsettle the Sheffield United player, just to get under Wilder's skin a little bit. Again, for me, that'd be the ultimate. But I agree with what you said. And look, I know that other guys got the goals, and that would be Aronson and Dan James. But you have to look at the performance that Willie Gnonto put in at the 10 position. I mean, if you have your number 10 passing at a 93% pass accuracy, with the number of passes he put in, and I want to point this out as well, he only lost possession 8 times. Now that seems like a lot. You'll look at Aronson, you'll say 13. That's not that much more than 8. You see Dan James, you'll see 16. That's a double 8, I guess. But when you think about him having 70 touches and being in the attacking third, being dispossessed 8 times, that's 11% dispossession rate. That's outrageous for a number 10. That means 89% of the time he's retaining the ball while advancing and attacking areas. And if you look at the heat map, this is something we talked about that I was really impressed with. And it's an extra dimension. I think that there's a lot of glaring weaknesses in Aronson's game we can point out at this level and say it's not particularly great. But one thing you love is the movement. When you compare his movement with Dan James's, who's really hugging the touchline, which, to be fair, that's what you want him to do. You don't really want him cutting inside all that much without the ball. But by being able to drop down and move and create confusion for the defense off the ball, you absolutely want Willie Gnonto to get the ball in those central spaces and to have runners off him. And I think that when you look at the shift that was put in by Mateo Joseph and Aronson around Gnonto, it makes his job a lot easier. Even so, though, be that as it may, 93% pass accuracy from a number 10, passing at that volume with a number of touches he had in the match. Absolutely outrageous, just outrageously good. And it doesn't show up. I mean, you can list it that way to show it up on a stat sheet, but it doesn't show up on the main list of primary statistics. But for us, if we get that kind of play from him week in and week out, if we manage to retain him, again, statistically at the number 10, and he's going to score goals, he's going to assist, but he may not have the same numbers, but the rest of the team's output is just going to go through the roof. And I was really impressed by it.
I totally agree there. I think it's an important stat, that as well. The pass accuracy is a very important stat. When you've got James on one side and potentially Ramazani or Solomon coming from the other side, they're going to be players who take high-risk actions and turn the ball over quite a lot. Certainly Ramazani and Solomon with the way they kind of play. And Mateo Joseph is someone who tries to play those defense splitting passes, makes runs in behind. He's going to obviously turn the ball over from time to time as well. So having someone in there, as you say, Gabe, who can just keep the ball. It's not just 93 pass accuracy, and he's just playing the ball sideways and back and sideways.
Right. The kind of passes is
making things happen. He was carrying the ball through congested areas. And for me, it might be a bold thing to say, but I think Gnonto in that 10 role has got best player in the league potential this season. I really do. I think he can be the best player in the league in that position. I think it suits him the best. I think the fact that he, again, you guys know I love a comparison, an outrageous comparison.
Is it a Barca comparison? Please tell me it's a Barca comparison.
No, it's not actually. It's total opposite here.
Man City.
It's going to seem a crazy one to say, but when this will make it, you'll both laugh when I say.
Let me swallow my coffee first. Go on before I spit it out.
When Gareth Bale joins Real Madrid, okay, Angel Di Maria went to the number 10 position and played the best football of his career because he could drift to the left, he could drift to the right, and he could go through the middle. He could play at all angles. For me, Gnonto's not the same quality of player, but what I'm saying is it can get another side of Gnonto's game out there. The fact he can go down the right, he can go down the left, he can cut inside, go on the outside, and go through the middle. He can play at all angles. I think Rutter, who is going to be the direct comparison really to Gnonto in terms of whether he can better Rutter's output or not. I personally think, certainly in terms of goal scoring, Gnonto will score a lot more goals than Rutter in that position, to be honest. He also
Connor, Oscar could be in Grimsby and have a coffee. He'll be like, do you know what? This reminds me of that one time in Barcelona I had a coffee.
Right.
No, I understand what you're saying, Oscar. It makes sense.
That was supposedly the end of Angel Di Maria, but it brought another side of his game. And for Gnonto,
I've sort of just been looking at like trying to get the Twitter back on. Sorry, everybody. And what I will say is apologies to all of this. I get loads of views through Twitter, and apologies for that because it's just not connected. Apparently, my account's under review from X. Don't know why, but there you go. And I'm still paying the money, but there we go. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get that through Twitter. That will hopefully be coming back in the next couple of days. What I will say is I've just lifted my head up and heard Oscar start talking about Angel Di Maria. So my head's on moon.
Gnonto is better than Angel Di Maria. That is my hot take from all of this.
Dear. Right. Well, okay. Let's get into.
People are going to take you seriously, by the way, when you say that. There's going to be one or two who's like,
"Oh yeah.
You said that he's better than Di Maria."
Yeah.
Well.
But before we get into the proper chat as well, Jetro says, "Connor not to start beefing." I'm just reading this out. Makes you put a donation in. But do you and Jer from The View not get along? Never see you collaborating. Just to make it clear, Jetro. We have friends in this space, but it'd be like me meeting just a random, guy on the street. Jer produces his content, JT produces his content, KG does, Brownie does. Sometimes you mesh with people in this community, other times you don't. You're not just friends with everyone, mate. So it's just one of those things, really. It's life. Gabe's came on the radio show a couple of years ago now. Clicked with Gabe straight away. I've known Wayman and Oscar for about 6 years now. KG I've known for about 3 years. Brownie I've known since I was about 12 years old. So it's one of those things, really. I guess
we don't all know each other. There seems to be this assumption that we all know each other, and that's not really the case.
It's not true.
He makes great content, Jared.
Yeah.
Really
but it's one of those things as well, because I think I get those questions a lot, and Oscar will be able to talk on this as well. But we don't all. We do our stuff. We get up every single day. We think about Leeds. We create content. That's it. We don't all talk to each other. I've got a very small pool of people that I get on this channel. It's just always been that way. So, no, I thought I'd just address that, mate. Because obviously you put the donation in there, and you're not doing this. But I think people always try find reason, but there's no reason at all to it's
kind of how rumors start, so you sort of have to squash it.
Absolutely not, mate. Absolutely not. Yeah, if I ignored your comment there, it'd look a bit weird. So
but anyway. Big congrats to Jer as well, by the way, because he hit the 50k, I think, I believe this weekend as well. So big congrats to I've come across Jer on Joe's channel, and he's top guy, and absolutely buzzing for him hitting a massive milestone. To be fair to Jer.
Connor misspoke. Brownie does not have his own channel.
I thought, is that what I said?
Yes.
Well, no, you said he makes his own content. Which,
yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what he does behind closed doors. But yeah, let's get on. Let's get on to Gus Hamer then, and we've kind of briefly spoke on him. Obviously, I have to put my 2 cents in there. I just don't see it happening. Look, there's a load of Leeds fans who've seen that 13 million quid gone in, and they've seen his release clause 18 million expiring.
Would you pay the 18, Connor? Though, I'm interested in that. If it came down to it, would you pay the 18? I know it's expired now, so it's not really probably not the real number anymore. But would you, if you were in the driver's seat?
Yeah. I mean, you're weakening. I think I was stunned by some Leeds fans saying that he's nowhere near like top 3 midfielders in the division.
Are they really saying he's not good enough for Leeds?
He absolutely is. I mean, if he'd be right now. If you're to offer me the signing of the window, it'd be Gus Hamer or Phil Billing. Gus Hamer or Phil Billing, and I am thinking, oh my word, if Billing can kick, Billing can stay fit, his physicality, his athleticism, just would help us in so many regards. But Hamer is just complete, isn't he? Those strikes from 30 yards, which are going to hit the top bin. It feels like he'd really acclimatized to Ellen Road. He'd love that pressure, and that's players that we want, lads. We want lads, players who are going to come in and wear that white shirt and just have a bit of an ego with it as well. And I think there's a bit of an arrogance about Gus Hamer, which I really like. And you're massively weakening Sheffield United, and I just imagine Hamface. I'd do it all for Hamface. I really would. So, yeah, man, I think he would be an elite sign. Do I think we'll get it
Connor,
done?
can I just interject real quick before it goes off
Yeah, go
the chat? I just want to interject this real quick. Guys, we can't tell you what to say, what to write, or anything like that, but please don't slag off other channels. I get so many messages per week, like asking me about drama between creators. This is how stuff starts. There is no drama between other channels. We don't need to criticize them in the chat. Please just don't do it. If you have a negative opinion about it, you're of course welcome to express it any way you like, but can you just not do it here, just as a personal favor to us? It causes drama for us. If it's your opinion, fine, but we don't want it to be seen as, or we just don't co-sign negative opinions about other channels. So just please don't do it.
Yeah, we don't want people to come in here and think that we're facilitating negative comments to other creators when we're really not. So keep it out.
Sorry, I don't mean to disrupt the flow, but there was a bunch of it going, and I was like, this is how stuff gets started, and it's just
shut up next time, Gabe. Brett says,
just let it happen.
Brett says, hope every little helps. Apparently, I can't speak. March on together, top man. Brett always here every stream. But yeah, Gabe, simple answer, mate. With regards to Hamer, would you be liking that one?
Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic player at this level. I'm not too keen on permanent signings for championship players and fringe Premier League players if you're carrying balances in the next season. But at the end of the day, I don't know that he couldn't make the jump up. And with the players that we're adding, I mean, the question is even though you do want to stockpile assets, where does he play? Where would you play him? I mean, he would absolutely start, but who do you drop? And then how do you manage those players? You know what I mean? It's difficult. People seem to think that sometimes it's just a game of Football Manager and you can just stack assets, but players get angry if they don't play, and a team blend is important. So the, TLDR is, yes, I would love to have him. I'm glad it wouldn't be my headache if I did get him.
Yeah. Tanaka seems to obviously be the recent one now, and it feels like now they've got a little bit of a 1, 2, 3 list, Oscar, when it comes to the short list, because it seems like there are a lot of transfer targets. I mean, Leeds are going to be affiliated with a lot now because obviously we need business done. It's out there that we need 3, potentially even more players. I
prefer Billing, though, to be honest. That's my hot take.
Oh yeah, I'd be Hamer. What about you, Oscar? You could decide and vote.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much.
Why are you turning more like Jamie Carragher every day, by the way, with your answer?
He started with a squeal. Did you hear him?
I thought
we mentioned Matt O'Reilly. That's why we heard him.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Hamer is unreal. Hamer is absolutely unreal. There's no question about it. I just don't feel like the vibe that's going to happen. I just think with Sheffield United to sell him to us this late in the window feels like.
Here's one for you, Oscar.
The optics behind it would be great. Oscar, I mean, if it could happen, absolutely.
Oscar, here's one for you, mate. I think the worst case scenario, and I think the chat are talking about it now. Big up to everyone here as well, by the way. If Billing, they're interested in Billing, Sheffield United, according to Nixon today. If Billing was to go to Sheffield United, and then you got potentially a Premier League club coming in for Hamer, that is some replacement as well. They've got Mikey Johnston today, haven't they? And you've still got to look at Sheffield United. They've had a terrific window so far. If they don't get any more, maybe if you get Hamer going out, but Billing coming in, and obviously Mikey Johnston coming in. I mean, it's Mikey Johnston, an overperformer for West Bromwich Albion last season. By the way, 2.5 million for him, 3 million for Harrison Burrows. You got to look at Sheffield United as a little bit of a problem, haven't you? If they sort of wangle this window in the right way.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, on the pitch though, it's obviously the first game they won against Preston, but other than that, you're looking at it and thinking the results haven't really come through for Sheffield United so far. Performances I don't think have been particularly great either. But if I was honestly predicting it, I personally think Hamer will stay at Sheffield United, and it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up with someone like a Billing. To be honest with you, I do think we'll get a 10. I do really think that. I think Tanaka feels like a separate one to me. I think Tanaka's to play alongside Ampadu. I do think we'll get a 10.
Yeah, it feels that one as well feels very much. I know it's his release clause is like 4 million, isn't it? And you feel like if we can get that one, that's
like unbelievable value, by the way.
It's a very Kamara signing, isn't it? And I'm really hoping what Harvey said as well isn't true. We'll get Tanaka and that's it. I don't think so.
I doubt it. I do doubt it. I think if you're looking at the strongest 11, and as Gabe rightly said, actually fitting in some of these players is going to be awkward. I mean, Solomon is one that probably needs mentioning as well. The fact that him and Ramazani are far, far better on the left than they are on the right, particularly Solomon. I think Ramazani, you probably could get away with playing on the right because he is so complete as a footballer. I think Solomon, though, on the right wing, I just don't feel it for me. I think his strength is cutting in on his right foot, getting shots and crosses off. I just don't think on the right hand side, taking fullbacks on down the outside, cutting in on his left foot. I don't think that's Solomon's game, personally. I think he's far better on the left than he is on the right. So in that kind of sense, I still believe people won't like this necessarily. I still believe Dan James is our best option on the right-hand side. I do thoroughly believe that. I think Gnonto is our best option through the middle, and I think it's Ramazani or Solomon on the left wing. But I think
not
Ramazani
if you get Roland Sallai.
Well, Sallai comes in. That's
love Dan James, but if you get Roland Sallai, he's not.
That blows. By the way, that blows the top two right. Well, I mean that puts Leeds in the driving seat. That really, really does. If
you've got to get top two with that, not to put any other kind of dampener on things and put too much emphasis on top two, but you've got to get top two if you're getting players like that through. If you're getting 2 or 3 players like that through the door, I know we've lost some star men. You've got to be getting top 2 with that. I think the division, personally, certainly in terms of the top 2, looks weaker to me already. I'm not seeing a Leicester or Ipswich so far who's going to put together ridiculous point totals. I think there's some very good teams in there, but I'm not seeing anyone who's giving me vibes of they're going to win 10 on the pound.
Oscar, sorry to interject as well, but key to note, these teams may be a little bit different to last year because I really don't remember it when it came to Leicester and Southampton. Gabe, you'll probably adhere to this as well, but Burnley are getting picked off. Yeah. They're getting absolutely picked off. It's like, vultures with a bunch of dead animals around right here. They are getting absolutely done in. And you look at Sheffield United as well, I feel like they're still vulnerable towards the end of the window with some of their big hitters.
Austin Trusty's rumored to go to Celtic. That's their starting center half. So, it happens. Going down really hurts your club, especially for your yo-yo club. Going up and going down is not good for you.
10 million for Anthony, if that's an obligation, is mental, by the way. I saw that. I could not believe that. That is mental.
Yeah, it's an interesting one at Burnley because obviously we know how much they flew out the traps though in the first 2 games, particularly that Luton game. I watched that and thought, wow, actually they're a lot better than what I was calculating, to be fair. I think if you look at it, if Burnley lose players, I don't think Parker is a manager who will make the difference kind of thing. If there's I don't think he's not a Kieran McKenna who's going to make the difference himself kind of thing, or even, I don't know. I think even if you compare Parker to Daniel Farke, I'd say Daniel Farke is the far stronger coach of the two, to be honest. Even though they have equal amounts of promotions, I think Farke is the better coach. So yeah, it is looking good in that kind of regard. I think obviously
Lyle Foster on his way to Brentford.
I mean, we've won a game and we're 6th. You know what I mean? We're 6th. Yeah. We've had a pretty poor start to the season. We still find ourselves in the top 6. So, you've got to look at that as a positive more than anything. Obviously last season we started really slowly, but we get that win against Hull. If, as I do emphasise, I think we could quite easily be top 4, top 5 going into that international break. It is really that close at this moment in time because it's that close because no team's really running away with it. Of course, Sunderland have made an excellent start, but they've lost their best player. So can they maintain that? It's only 3 games in.
And you want to talk about a doom complex that our fans have. Sunderland fans are even worse.
Yeah.
Nothing good happens to us ever.
I mean, they've got some really good youngsters, though, Sunderland. Really good youngsters. Rig, especially, I think, has made a really good start to the season. I mean, I call Patrick Roberts a youngster because he's not really anymore. I mean, that's probably showing me age. That's football manager for you kind of thing. Patrick Roberts.
I think they're always a couple of really, I don't know. I feel with Sunderland, if they keep hold of the nucleus of these youngsters, you look at Pierre Ekwai, you look at Tri Hume, you look at Patterson in there.
I think Ekwai, though, could be one who I could see going up a level, before the end of the window.
But at championship level, those 3 in particular, and if they're to spend that 15 million quid or whatever it was, 20 million quid and invest it in the right profiles, Sunderland seem very, very decent when it comes to recruitment as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. But So I don't know. It's a really weird one now because it's almost you're in limbo. I mean, Manor Solomon, Gabe, we've not really heard your thoughts when it's come to the selection with him. You know, we're looking at Aronson, and I think in the previous game, Willie Gnonto did become a little bit of a number 10. I think we saw that against West Bromwich Albion as well. We saw maybe Aronson maybe fleeting out to the left-hand side a little bit, of which, you know, he started in pre-season, didn't he, when he came on against Portsmouth in that left-hand position. So I wonder if that's his position going into the remainder of the season, if he is to be an option, which I'm sure he will be. Leeds' top scorer right now. But, you know, if Leeds are to then bring in they brought in Solomon, haven't they? It does feel like you're probably going to get either Solomon and James on that right-hand side. I'm very much with Oscar. You know, when you've got a player who's played 5 times in 5 years on that right-hand side, which Solomon has. By the way, I'm saying that again, 5 times in 5 years on that right-hand side. I was just saying it to Joe, actually, on a text. I can't imagine he's going to be coming in to go on that right-hand side. I feel like it's going to be another left-wing option. So, obviously, with Ramazani playing out there as well, depth-wise, how do you think it's shaping up now? Do you think this puzzle's getting a little bit closer to completion?
Well, it depends on how Farke wants them to play as well. You need depth. We know that. We know that Farke loves to have options in reserve that maybe he doesn't use, but I think he likes to know that they're in reserve. So yeah, I think the attack is forming up well. I think that as fans, sometimes we look at players we don't necessarily rate and act like they're not on the team. Like everyone's like, oh, we absolutely need to bring in X, Y, or Z. We have Yoel Pirro sitting on the bench with 14 goals last season. You know, so it's not necessarily who we would bring in. It's what Daniel Farke is seeing. And does Daniel Farke think that he's stocked up in certain positions? I have to say, I'm still a little bit nervous about center half. I love our starting tandem, but it looks like Judas Iscariot, Max Wober wants out of town again. And we don't have. I mean, then again,
if that is true,
that's right. Allegedly, I should say. Allegedly,
if that is true, I'm getting so sick.
But Farke did say that he was happy with the young kid coming up as a competitive option at center half. Now, he could quite easily say something different. I mean, that was on the 8th of August, right? So he could come out and say, "I've always said we needed another center half if we don't get one," right? So.
Do you think, though, Gabe? Sorry, just interject.
No, go on.
Do you think Tanaka could be like, in a weird way, could be to cover off Wober leaving in terms of, because
I don't think so. I don't think he has the size profile or physicality.
But if Pascal got injured, I think Ampadu would drop in there and Tanaka would go alongside Gruev. Is my personal view.
Maybe, and if that's what he wants to do, if that's what he wants to do, I can understand that. Maybe he thinks that having a number of skillful kind of holding or box-to-box midfielders would give more flexibility. I don't particularly want to see Ampadu wasted at the center half position again. He filled in admirably most of the second half of the season, but some of his deficiencies at that position were exposed later on in the year, and he's much more useful as a number 6.
Oh,
I think that with Solomon, to kind of finish my answer and shut up so somebody else can talk, I think that there's injury concerns, right? The player hasn't necessarily kept fit, so I can understand why Farke might be thinking, all right, Aronson has some utility. You can play him in a number of different positions in an attacking trident. Then you have 2 natural left wingers to play out there, and one who's injury prone. So I don't think we're overstocked, but you have to think that we're probably done looking at left-sided players. You would hope.
Yeah, it feels like Peter's just said if he's true and wanting out, then bench him until the next window. It does feel a little bit like that, doesn't it, Oscar? I think and Gabe's kind of alluded to it when it comes to the complications of Wober. Look, we're speculating. This is what the rumours have come out of Sport Germany. It could be wrong, but if it is right, you keep him, don't you? You keep him, and if you can sell him on a permanent, you sell him on a permanent. But if you can't sell him on a permanent, you do not send him out on loan with the cover that we've got a centre back right now.
I would agree, definitely. I think fundamentally, Max Wober, unless there's an injury to Pascal or Joe Rodon, is not going to play much football, or at least until January, I don't think, which is probably something that's on Max Wober's kind of mind, I'd imagine. I think naturally for any footballer, but I definitely agree. I don't see the point from our point of view of loaning the player. It just doesn't make sense from our point of view at all. In terms of if Max Wober's going to leave, it has to be a permanent, and it also gives us a chance to replace him directly if we want to. I'm not saying I would play Ampadu at centre back. By the way, if there was an injury to Rodon and Strauch, I would personally like to see I'd like to have that fourth centre back in there. But I think what Farke will do is I think he'll play Ampadu deeper.
You're probably right. I think that's probably right, Oscar. Yeah.
And I was just looking at it from a Farke point of view of squad building. I think he likes Gruev. Tanaka, if Tanaka does come in, we don't know that's going to be a thing yet, but hopefully if Tanaka does come in, all of a sudden then you've got 3 going into 2 in midfield, and obviously Joe Rothwell as well. I think naturally, if Pascal or Rodon get an injury, naturally it kind of eases the congestion in midfield as well. You can get, Tanaka and Gruev into the same team and things like that. So I think there's a lot of different factors at play here. I don't think if Verba did leave, I don't think we would go for a centre-back to directly replace him. I think that's how we'd respond to that situation. But I don't think Daniel Farke will be having sleepless nights over Max Verba, to be totally honest with you, potentially leaving. I don't think it'll be that big a concern to him. I think obviously he'd rather keep him than not keep him, but I don't think it'll be something that makes or breaks our season so much, because I just don't think after that performance against Borough, I don't think Farke's going to trust him over Ampadu at centre-back. People might disagree with me on that.
But hang on, Oscar. Do you really think one performance is going to... I don't think so. One game is going to change the manager's thinking about a player with...
But it was how bad the whole unit... it wasn't just down to Max Verba who lost that game.
Well, that's what I mean. Like he came right back with an Aronson start, and Aronson played pretty poorly that match as well. So I don't know.
3 goals though, against a second-string Borough team, and it was It was how bad the unit looks. In terms of Rodon, I think is one of the best defenders in this league, but alongside Verba, it did not look right at all. The balance in that defense, and that's the.
I think all I'm saying is that I wouldn't put too much on one performance. I wouldn't trust him because he keeps telling me one thing, and then it's rumored that he wants out. So that's why I wouldn't trust him.
Quality on the ball, in terms of Rodon, as much as I love Joe Rodon, probably his weakest element is his quality on the ball, and Max Verba is certainly his weakest element is his quality on the ball.
I think naturally as well the back line's looked at a lot more, chaps. It feels like Verba. I thought he had a poor game defensively, but I think some of the good attributes were that his passing out from the back was pretty crisp. I thought against Middlesbrough, I thought the connectivity through the team was off. But what I will say is that side of the game, I thought was better than maybe people were making out. An interesting one's Bogle. Bogle. Yeah. I sort of look because I thought I'd watch a little bit of a different game, to be honest. And I want to get onto Max Aarons as well, chaps, because that's a very, very interesting rumour, which I think we need to get into. But the Bogle situation against Sheffield Wednesday, I thought he had a terrific game. I then had a look at his numbers, and there was 11 duels. He won 8 of them. He won recoveries. I think he won 5. His packing accuracy was in the 80s, I think, mid 80s, and
he's sending dangerous balls in as well. He's not just playing in possession. I don't get it either, Connor. People seem down on him, and I don't get it.
It's a real 50-50 split, and Masaba in the first half. We have to discuss this. He span Bogle, and it's interesting how these just little parts of the game seem to really shroud opinion. Cloud opinion, I should say as well. You look at the overall game, and I really thought he was arguably man of the match. Oscar,
what kind of defender never lets anybody go past him, Connor? I mean, can you imagine one of our wingers going at and not getting past the right back once? We would say, what's wrong with that winger?
Do you know what as well, Gabe? He actually for part of the first half as well, Oscar, I don't know if you caught this, but he actually went to the other side and then he came back again. And I thought there's a reason he's doing that. It's because he can't get any joy out of Bogle. So I was actually really, really, really surprised at that. I thought Bogle had a really good game on Friday.
I thought it was his best game. Not in the league show because he had some excellent performances in pre-season, but his best game of the domestic season so far, I thought, for Bogle. I think what I will say is probably the only frustrating element of Bogle's performance was he wasn't able to get forward as much as he normally would do. But I think there is mitigating factors behind that. I think we are still having to try and find that balance on the right-hand side. We know Dan James likes to keep the width on that side, and if you've got your winger keeping the width, it makes it more difficult for the fullback to overlap because he wants to stay wide as well. So I think... And this interestingly, obviously, you mentioned Max Aarons there, because I personally think my prediction would be is Max Aarons. I think he will join us personally.
Really?
I do. Yeah, that would be a prediction for me. I do think.
Why and how? There's so much logic against it. I don't. Why on earth, if you're Max Aarons, do you join Leeds United right now? I don't get it. Why?
Well, he's
the
not getting
Charlie
games from
Taylor of
Bournemouth.
Daniel Farke.
Yeah, it's
linked with him every time we turn around.
He's not getting to game time at Bournemouth. Is the first and foremost factor in there. Julian Araujo from Barcelona has just joined Bournemouth, and I'll be honest with you, as much as I like Max Aarons, Julian Araujo is a far better player than Max Aarons, to be honest, at right back. So I don't see any real change at right back happening there at Bournemouth. And I think the reason I've mentioned about Aarons is that Dan James wants to keep the width. Max Aarons is, for me, better than Bogle at underlapping, in terms of going down the inside kind of thing and inverting into midfield from time to time, which I think we saw last season. Archie Gray did that most of the time. And obviously Jed Spence came in, but Jed Spence didn't really naturally fit the system. I don't know. It's just a vibe I get. I do think we'll end up signing another fullback. I think the fullbacks are so important to this Leeds system, to a Farke team. We know how important throughout Farke's time in England, really, not just at Leeds, at Norwich as well, how crucial the fullbacks were. And listen, I think Jayden Bogle is a fantastic player. I think right now, with Max Aarons not in the league, I would personally say Jayden Bogle's the best fullback in the league. Yeah, certainly right back in the league. But
he's going to be further up in the Leeds pecking order, of course he is, than what he would be at Bournemouth. I understand that, when it comes to competition.
He's not getting Bogle out of the side, is he?
But he's not getting. But
No.
This is what I don't understand. This is where I'm a little bit confused. Don't get me wrong. You cover, your Byram-esque player who can versatile among,
But why would he come here to be a bench option for Leeds United when he's a bench option for Bournemouth? Yeah,
I think it'd be an interesting battle that between Aarons and Bogle. But the other thing points out as well is Aarons can play on the left as well.
Yeah, but Spence
could brain's going to break if we get
my brain's going to break.
Player on the left side.
Spence could play on the left. Dallas could play on the left. Ayling could play on the left. I'm just sick of everybody being able to play on the left.
Max Aarons can play on the left.
That's just my lads. It's just my prediction.
Daniel Sam Byram can play on the left.
We know how much Daniel Farke likes Max Aarons. We bid 12 million for him last summer. Let's not forget that. In terms of, yes, he didn't have an ideal season at Bournemouth last year, but I think it'd be an interesting. If it did happen, and listen, it probably won't happen. Who knows? But Aarons and Bogle will be a phenomenal options at right back. By the way,
yeah, they would. Yeah,
just switch him mid game, just after an hour, just go. You know what? We just switch this round now.
I can't imagine if you're Max Aarons, you're like, do you know what? I'm going to leave Bournemouth, and instead of going one of these other championship squads where I'd be the number one option, clear cut, I'm going to go to Leeds United, maybe the only squad in the championship where I'd really have to fight for my place. No way.
Yeah. Oscar, I'm really confused.
I hope you're right, Oscar. That'd be great.
It'd be
great.
Like
a game of Battleship.
It'd be amazing. But I don't.
I think we'll definitely see I think we'll get a fullback in. I really do believe that. I think the fullbacks are so important to Farke's system.
But that's different than saying we're going to get Max Aarons.
But I think it'll be Max Aarons. If you're asking me right now, a fullback we can think of who Daniel Farke clearly really likes, for me, it's Max Aarons.
Right, man.
You are right about the Farke link, but he would have to do some serious convincing there to a player who. So you've essentially there, in my opinion, got two of the best right backs in the division, but yet we've still got Eli Melier in there.
Don't get me started.
This is a turn.
I keep seeing a right turn. But these engagement farming
here and put it down there.
These engagement farming Twitter accounts every week that they go out and say, "Oh, no, look at the clean sheet percentage." Of the engagement farming Twitter accounts. It's like, great, awesome. You can throw together some stats that an entire defense collects. But show me every single corner or a lofted ball into the box where he has to just catch the ball and show me what happens.
Do you know what we're seeing now,
a reasonably difficult shot on goal. Oh,
Gabe, do you know what we're seeing now? We're seeing fans, understandably in a sense, 100% when it comes to a football game, but you're seeing fans, I've seen fans actually blame everybody else and the build-up to the goal, Portsmouth's first goal, and eradicate any blame toward Eli Melier. It was like, but you've got to look at the build-up toward.
He's the oasis of goalkeepers.
But you've got the goalkeeper's main objective, his job is to save the ball, keep the ball out of the back of the net. Some key fundamentals when it comes to handling, all this sort of stuff. But
I hear Wonderwall when I see him flapping around.
Look, I don't want to make this like a thing. But for me, if you're bringing in, and it correlates quite nicely, if you're bringing in Max Aarons, right, to compete with Jayden Bogle at right back. Now, that is phenomenal, of course. You've got Byram who can do, both sides, but I feel like you'd get more of a utility fullback who can do both sides again, similar to a Byram if there is one out there. But for the life of me, I just cannot understand why you've got 3 keepers, 3 goalkeepers, of which aren't at the standard of what Leeds United need to get, promoted and to get to the Premier League. You need competition in there and proper caliber, and everyone ignores it. Why do we ignore it as a football club? I don't understand. You've got Carl Rushworth, you've got Sam Johnston, you've got players out there who are available. You've got even sort of at the start of the season, you've got Cooper at Plymouth available, £2 million. What a signing for Sheffield United. But it just seems, Oscar, why do we never, ever, ever, ever seem to at least even add competition in this area? Because it doesn't seem, because it's not a flashy position. They don't score goals. They don't get assists. They don't do X, Y, and Z. Why do we not correct this position? When we look, I'm even at the weekend, I'm looking at Ilan Mele and I'm looking at that Superman punch. It's unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable that is happening at top level football. And I would classify the Championship as top level football in terms of the second tier. I think you've got to add the element of competition in there. And do you know what, mate? That would make me so happy toward the end of the window. Just the competition at right back then when you're talking about Aarons and Bogle, but we've got these 3 options in goal. Not for me, mate.
Can I just say, I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying what I think will happen. It's similar to the Ampadu thing. I just think the fullback areas, we've signed a fullback in every single window, including January. Obviously, Connor Roberts came in. Connor Roberts is a totally different profile. We've been looking at fullback, pretty much since Daniel Farke walked through the door. It's a crucial position for his team. Now, if you're asking me, would I bring in Max Aarons or a backup goalkeeper if the prices were similar, the financial side of it was similar? I'd go with the backup goalkeeper. I think the goalkeeper.
I'd go with the number 1.
Well, yeah, or number 1, or some just competition, kind of thing. I think what I will say, one thing I will say about Mele, I thought his distribution in general was better against Wednesday. He was releasing the ball quicker. We were able to counter-attack a little bit quicker. Whether that's being worked on or not, I don't know. But fundamentally, it's not a side of his game that's very strong.
It's also hard to get worse than he was against Mille.
No, of course, yeah. There is that. It's but there's competition at the very least is needed in goal. It does feel like if Mele did have a bad next 2 games, he's not going to lose his place. And for me, it's not good for Mele to know that as well. I think he does need an element of pressure. I think Mele's best performances for Leeds were when he first came through. Of course, Kiko Casilla was absolutely awful, and we all knew Kiko Casilla was awful. But at the time, Kiko Casilla was well thought of by Marcelo Bielsa. He was Marcelo Bielsa's number 1. But Mele came in when Casilla had the ban. Mele knew he had that pressure of Casilla once that ban was over, probably losing his first team place. And that's probably, a start of Mele's best performances. And I think gradually since then, we've not really seen anyone realistically where you can look at and say, yeah, they're going to displace Ilan Mele. It just hasn't happened.
We've somehow won 2-0 and we're talking about bloody Ilan Mele.
No, do you know what? Let's put a cap on that.
Yeah,
All
he
I'm
set you up for that one, Oscar. It's not your fault.
I agree with what I'm saying.
No. But I just think, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing from Leeds. Well, I guess I am. I think from a recruitment standpoint, I don't understand how you can watch stuff like that against Sheffield Wednesday from a goalkeeper's perspective. I get what you're saying with distribution, but in general, look, we've had 2 clean sheets and we're very. Look, football's fickle. I understand it. We're looking at the last 2 games and look, 2 clean sheets and the defense have been decent, yada, yada, yada. But I just think like long term throughout this season, if we're adding competition, Gabe, in the front line, if we're adding competition, Ao Tanaka in the midfield, if we're adding depth like Max Aarons at fullback region, of which if that happens, unbelievable, to Bogle and Firpo, I cannot for the life of me understand why you don't address, in my opinion, top.
The manager doesn't think it's an issue. He said multiple times that he thinks that Ilan Mele is the best keeper in the league. So I think for me, that's the clear-cut answer.
Okay.
I think he thinks that he thinks that Darlow's a good enough number 2 and that Mele is the best keeper in the league. I profoundly disagree, but who cares what I think, honestly, when it comes to what the manager says. I think that's what it comes down to. If the manager had any doubts about him, I think he'd remember that Daniel Farke is not like a passive party in player recruitment. Like he gets very, very, very involved, and to the point where in the past it's caused friction with the brass upstairs at clubs like Norwich and things like that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Goalkeeper's been a problem position for us for quite a while now. I'd probably say since Rob Green, To be honest with you, I think that's how long since we've had a number one that I can think of off the top of my head where I've looked at and thought he will save us more points than we lose, kind of thing in terms of from saves. I think Rob Green's the last goalkeeper I looked at and thought, you just know you're going to get a 7, 8 out of 10. Probably since when Meslier was, 2021. Meslier 2021, to be fair, 2020, 2021, had an excellent season that year. But if you're looking at it in general, I think it's been a while since we've had like a proper solid number one.
And as well as Oscar as well, you're both numbers guys, right? Outliers. Ilya Meslier is an outlier when it comes to data, even last season. He is an outlier. His performance data was ranked in the bottom 10 when it came to a goalkeeper. You improve that outlier.
In terms of save percentage.
In terms of save percentage, in terms of goals prevented, which he was in the minus for, and very high, very sort of lowly in the minus as well.
And I think that's been a thing with Leeds goal. I think you can go back, other than say Meslier in that Premier League season and the Championship season. I think probably since Rob Green, I won't know off the top of my head, but I would be stunned if it's not in the minus for every single season from our goalkeepers.
I think when it comes to recruitment, we'll put a cap on it here, but I just think it is I don't understand.
You're going to have to pull my spirit out of the gutter now. I feel depressed.
Yeah.
It's a position we've struggled in a long time.
Yeah, let's
long time.
Well, whatever. Let's move on. But anyway. So obviously, I think we've spoken on pretty much all of the rumors. That the interesting one there was Max Aarons. So let's just go through them. Likely to get done. Gabe, I'm gonna throw someone at you and just get likely or unlikely. Ao Tanaka, what do you reckon?
Likely.
Oscar.
Ao Tanaka.
So did your dial-up just go on?
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask me a different player.
Oscars, you're bringing on 56K right now.
Sorry.
Dial-up connection.
I had a freeze then.
Still thinking. He's still thinking about Rob Green.
It's literally like ChatGPT processing.
I'm trying to hold an offside line away at Wembley, and then Adam Armstrong just run through it, kind of thing. Ao Tanaka, likely, I'd say.
Max Aarons, Gabe. Has Oscar convinced
Unlikely.
You?
3 out of 10. Unlikely.
Oscar.
Do you want a number on it?
If you want.
I'd say likely 7 out of 10.
70%. Wow.
Gabe.
Maybe 6.5. 7. I'll go 7.
7. Gabe, Gus Hamer.
Unlikely.
Okay, you're going to put a number on that?
2 out of 10.
So you started the numbers game, mate.
Yeah,
Oscar.
I should never have done it.
I'd go the same.
Oscar's going to be going before
unlikely 2 out of 10.
Oscar, Manor Solomon.
He's signed, doesn't
he? Nearly got you. So I think there are a lot of the key rumours, aren't they? Really around Leeds at the minute.
No. I think you missed one, didn't you?
Did I miss one?
Yeah, right-sided winger.
Yes.
Would be the prize.
Okay. Roland Sallai, go
on. Somewhat likely. I'm thinking like 55, 60%. So more yes, more yes than no. Well, 7 out of 10, it's just 70%. We're just expressing numbers differently. But so take your maths course, Connor. No, I mean, I think it would be a massive coup. It's kind of late in the window, but I hope that'd be great.
Yeah. Oscar, just to sign off, mate. And what we'll do is we'll just speak about something after this. I wanted to touch on. Go on. What number would you give it?
So, similar to Gabe, 60th percentile, 6 out of 10.
Gabe, talk to me about the perfect end to this window for you. What do Leeds need to address? Who would you be bringing in? Because I know you're a man who bases a lot of things on realism, not sensationalism. What would you be looking at, mate? And what do Leeds need to do right now with the squad makeup? Top 2 by the end of the window, Gabe. Realistically, what Leeds needs to do?
Tanaka and a fullback.
Oh, interesting. So that's all you do? Tanaka and a fullback. That's it.
Yeah. I think Gnonto in the 10 is a fantastic solution. I think he's the player we've been looking for in the 10, to be honest. Okay. I think with Solomon and some of the other options we have at the wing positions now, with Aronson coming on, he's going to be very useful at this level. Joseph, very, very solid. I think that you fixed the biggest holes for me are at fullback and midfield depth. And that's what I would fix. That team on paper could win the league.
Interesting. Oscar, do we need to do more than that for you?
I think midfield's definitely number one for me. I think Tanaka is the profile who fits exactly what we need. Someone who connects the midfield to the attack. I think is absolutely crucial. I think we've got the profiles in there. It says Rothwell has got goals and assists in him. Ampadu can do the stuff from deep. Gruev can do the stuff from deep. You need someone who's in between. And for me, that's Tanaka. So that's one that I think needs to get done. That's an absolute priority for me. If Gnonto doesn't leave, I'd say another 10.
Don't say that.
Well, Gnonto has to stay. If you offered me a choice between not signing anyone and Gnonto staying, genuinely, I'd take Gnonto staying.
Connor, ask him the question again as you asked.
Right. Okay. I'll go back.
Right. From now on, we're going to start calling you Tangent.
No. I want him to run for his local office. I'll help him campaign.
I'm good at deflecting.
Yeah. Oscar, how are you going to address some of the situations? Well, we got to get out there, don't we, man?
It's Irish now.
Right. Tanaka, midfield, number 10, backup or main number 10, doesn't really matter. And fullback for 3.
Those are 3. He said, what 2 positions did you not, Connor?
Yeah, he said, do you need one more? And they've just...
I completely agree with that. I think the positions completely agree. Gabe, finally, Willie Gnonto. Is it window defining right now? Keeping hold of him, and is he to Leeds United with 4 days left? Is he almost priceless?
Yeah. I don't. I'm trying to think if there's another player that would even be. I mean, aside from players that haven't been rumored at all, like I think it'd be very disruptive if we sold Ethan Ampadu, But I think the question you're asking is of the things we've heard, who would actually likely be poached up. Yeah, I think absolutely Willie Gnonto you have to keep hold of.
Yeah, I think you bang on. I think that would be bad. I think that would be really bad. Even if you've got Cabal waiting up to come in, I know obviously from Paris FC, but I just think losing Gnonto, Rutter, Somerville, whatever you do in the window, and obviously you can lump Archie in there as well. But those 3, Oscar, would be extremely hard. I don't care what Ramazani might take a while to bed in.
Yeah, exactly.
Manor Solomon may get injured potentially, but
you can't take everything for certain. Absolutely not, and that's the point I was just trying to make. Gnonto above any signing for me. It's not going to be that scenario, obviously, but that's how much I value Gnonto in this team. I think he is our key player this bit of the season. He can be our Buendia this season for me. He's absolutely critical for the way we want to play. And you saw it against Sheffield Wednesday when he was dropping into those central areas. We looked far better as a team. So that's absolutely crucial. But
does that kill Hamer, though? Does that surely kill Gus Hamer if you're playing?
I just don't think Hamer's a realistic one. I only, as I said before, the only way I see that possibly being realistic is if Sheffield United actually go and get Phil Billing, or if they desperately need the money. One of those 2 things could both be true at the same time. But I just don't see Hamer.
Or if Gnonto's sold.
Or if Gnonto's sold. Yeah, Hamer's probably the best possible solution to that. But even then, I think the best way of asking me is, would I rather Gnonto or Hamer in the 10 position? For me, it's Gnonto. Genuinely, I'd say it's Gnonto. And I really rate Gus Hamer. But you don't want to be changing your whole front 4.
I agree with you. I think Hamer's one of those signings right now where you look at it and you go, "Ooh, yeah, he's a
spectacular player.
That would be nice." But I completely agree with you that if Gnonto's to remain, I'd really rather us if we can put all of our investment and focus into a Sallai, and then a Tanaka, and then potentially a fullback. That is what I'd be looking at 100%. You look, Gnonto in that 10, we've seen it so far, and it's. I think there's a lot of upside there, Gabe. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I think that from what we've seen, it's only been a small sample, but many people have been saying for a while that Gnonto should be playing the 10. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of coverage outside of him. So, but yeah, I think realistically, when you think about the number of players we've had come in, and the business we can probably get done in the next 72 hours, I would say And you don't have to sell Gnonto. There's no release clause for him. You can simply say, okay, this is what the player is worth to us. And the only scenario I could see is if somebody comes in with an absurd bid, they sell him, and then they basically just decide to bring in players on a rush the last 48 hours and hold on until the January window. But
do you think they'll just get 2, Gabe? Do you think they'll just get 2? Connor said here he reckons Sallai, Tanaka, and a fullback will come in. You think 2 or 3? Okay.
Yeah, I actually think Connor's right. I think I could see another attacking option. I think Tanaka's a really good signing for the money to reinforce that the midfield. We wouldn't have depth issues anymore, and I still want to see Charlie Crew this year as well. But I think the preseason again. I don't rate, but he looks solid there. And then we definitely need a fullback. So but I think there's something to Oscar saying. I don't want it to happen, but I think there's something to Oscar saying that Farka might make certain investments and then play players out of position. So do you think
there's anything to what Ryan said here?
No. I'd like to think not. It could
because why would we go in with a fixed number and not bid higher? If
I think, to be honest with you, I think the facts. We've obviously had quite a chaotic transfer window so far. There's a lot of teams doing what we've done with Gus Hamer, by the way. In terms of just testing the waters, seeing what the prices are. We've seen it across the board. Really. Liverpool yesterday with Federico Chiesa putting a little tiny bid just to see what the interest is, and that's what teams have done. What
about Ryan here, Roscoe said, what about moving Gnonto to the right with Hamer through the middle?
Could do.
Well, I think in terms
depends on Sallai, doesn't it? Depends on Sallai.
I think Sallai's the ideal one for us. I think Hamer or Sallai, if you're asking me directly, I'd say Hamer out the two, and then you just you're moving on to wherever. Gnonto can be effective for us wherever he plays, which is worth saying as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be one or the other, but Sallai feels a lot more realistic. 1 year left on his deal. Freiburg actually do want to sell him, it looks like, to fund another signing. And Sallai is the fact he can play on the right. He can play through the middle as well, as a number 10. It feels more ideal for us. You can accommodate Gnonto and Sallai in the team quite easily. It feels like one that makes more sense, in terms of from that point of view, in terms of likelihood to happen. I think the mistake for us would be chasing signings that we can't make would be a big mistake for us at this stage of the window. I think obviously Hamer, it'd be amazing if we can get it done, but I think for it to happen, I think we've got to have been given some kind of encouragement from Hamer or Sheffield United that it would happen. For me, if Hamer's to leave Sheffield United, I think a Premier League club or abroad is probably the most likely thing for Hamer.
We've seen that the ownership.
Mike's spot on. I Hamer love it. Wednesday. Wilder breakdown.
You wouldn't play ahead of Barry Bannon, mate. Wouldn't play ahead of Barry Bannon there. You could literally sign Pedri at Sheffield Wednesday and Barry Bannon would still play ahead of him.
He just does not. They think he's Lionel Messi, don't they?
Oh, he did have an absolute stinker against us, by the way. That's the worst I've ever seen Barry Bannon play against us.
He didn't know what was happening, did he? He didn't know where he was. Wurzel Gummidge. But yeah. Right, okay, we'll leave it there, chaps. It's been over an hour of fun today. I apologise for everybody not being able to get it out on Twitter. Thank you, Mr. Musk. And we'll wait and see what happens in the next coming days with regards to that. Shout out to everybody here. Now, listen, before you leave, please make sure you slap a like on the video and make sure you follow my esteemed colleagues here on Twitter. You can catch Gabe out on his.
Don't follow me on Twitter.
On his other channel, I was about to say, I will put that in the link description.
Gabe the American.
Gabe the American. And of course, Oscar from All Leeds TV there. Guys, make sure, as I say, you're slapping a subscribe. Thank you for your support recently. Head on over to the Patreon for articles and an extra podcast with one. Maybe actually we'll get Oscar on, actually. Definitely on some going forward and some articles as well. But Gabe's definitely on every single week. And we will see you in a bit. Cheers.